Welcome back to Gillette Stadium, everybody. My name is Mike Petraglia, joined as always by Patriots expert columnist for WEEI.com, Christopher Price. Chris, the Patriots are not getting ready for the cold and the snow on the ground here in New England, but rather the temperatures in the mid-80s expected on Sunday in Miami. They are practicing in the bubble. What are the big preparations that the Patriots have to get ready for as they get ready for that kind of environment?
Well, I think you hit it on the head. You have to get ready for a far different environment than the one they've had over the last couple of weeks. There's going to be snow. There's going to be no snow. There's going to be no rain. There's going to be no ice. It's going to be far different. It's going to be in the mid-80s down there in South Florida, and so you have to prepare accordingly. I know in years past they've tried to go down early. They've tried to simulate things. I think that's one of the reasons they're in the bubble today as opposed to being outside. But it's a far different environment that they have to prepare for this week than they have over the last couple of weeks.
The big issue, of course, Chris, is conditioning. How do you think this team stands up in the heat and the humidity in Florida?
I think they'll do pretty well. I think when you look at the scoring split over the course of the year, obviously over the last couple of weeks they've struggled right out of the gate, but they put together some really good fourth quarters. Now, questions of whether or not that's sustainable down the stretch, but I think when you look at it from a conditioning perspective, I think it speaks very well to this team and where they are at this point in the season, especially going into South Florida.
Well, maybe the warm weather is going to help them get off to a better start. Look, it's been beaten like a dead horse the last couple of weeks, and it almost burned them again, and really, by all rights, should have burned them against Cleveland Browns. They escaped 27-26. Billy Cundiff misses that 58-yard field goal. It falls just a couple of yards short. But again, from what you saw on Sunday, what do the Patriots need to do? Are they getting closer to better starts or not?
I do. I think that they're getting closer to better starts. I think there's some offensive consistency coming through. I think there might be a bit of a setback in that regard because they've lost Rob Gronkowski, Tom Brady's #1 security blanket, at least to this point in the season. But they have to be able to find a consistency right out of the gate. They need to make a statement. These fast starts are something that they need to work on going forward. These slow starts are not sustainable going into the postseason. If you want to play deep into January, you can't start out like that. They've been able to save themselves with some really good third quarters and some great fourth quarters, but you can't dig yourselves a hole against a really good football team, especially in the postseason.
Now, I asked Bill Belichick the whole situation with Rob Gronkowski. Essentially, how do the Patriots make adjustments both during the game and during the week? And he said, essentially, look, we lost Rob Gronkowski. We've played more this year without him than we have with him. And we're not just going to pack up our bags and go home. That's just obviously not going to happen. Your take on how the Patriots really go about replacing Rob Gronkowski. Is it Shane Vereen and Julian Edelman, or are there other parts?
I think from a practical perspective, we're looking at a team, we're looking at an offense that really fancies themselves as a game-playing offense, a situation-to-situation, week-to-week kind of offense. So I think we're going to see less 12 personnel. That's one back, two tight ends. I think we're going to see more. We're going to see more offensive options. We're going to see more situations where you're going to see 3 and 4 wide receivers on the field. And I say that knowing that Shane Vereen is probably going to be considered a wide receiver in those situations. He does have that,
like he was on Sunday.
Exactly. He does have that positional versatility. You can move him around a little bit. You can put him in the slot. You can split him out wide. So I think from a purely practical perspective, we're looking at a situation where we're going to see more of those guys in the field. They have a little bit more depth at the wide receiver spot. Bill talked about it today. Guys like Josh Boyce, guys like Kenbrell Tompkins, those young rookie receivers are starting to come on. They're starting to play more and more. I think they're going to start to rely on those guys even more going forward.
Loved what Bill Belichick said today. Told us that Aqib Talib's no class clown, but he is very well liked in that locker room. It was also interesting this week on NFL Network. There's a piece, A Football Life, on the 93 Houston Oilers that were fighting all the time. And Bill Belichick kind of made reference to that with Aqib Talib, saying, you know, he not only is respected, but he's well liked. That's not always the case. Talk about Aqib Talib. What kind of leadership does he provide, not only on the field, but off the field?
I think he is, to Bill's point, one of the most well-liked and one of the most respected guys in that locker room. I think, and you've seen this before too, Mike, that group of defensive backs, they're very close. They're very tight as a group. I always think the running backs are the tightest group, and maybe the offensive linemen. That group of defensive backs is really close. And I think one of the reasons they're really close is because of Talib. He's done a really good job. Whoever would have thought it, he's done a really good job assuming more of a leadership role here in New England, bringing some of those young guys under his wing and working with them and really helping move the whole thing forward. I think he's played a big role in that regard. But, you spend time in that locker room. it's clear that he is one of those guys. He's become a go-to guy in that locker room as a leader.
Also some good insight, Chris, on the development of Josh Boyce, the rookie, speedy wide receiver that finally saw a lot more snaps this past weekend against Cleveland Browns. I thought it was interesting how Belichick talked about how Boyce has worked in the practice squad, in the scout team, right. The scout team, kind of earning his stripes, if you will, and then finally matriculating and making his way onto the regular offensive set. What do you see in Josh Boyce, and is he going to become a bigger and bigger role now, especially with Gronkowski out of the mix?
One thing, it's important to remember, it's all about making the most of your opportunities. And I think he has done well to this point in the season to take advantage of the opportunities that have been presented to him. Bill said that both in the kicking game and in the offense. The move that I loved on Sunday was the move that he put on Buster Skrine out there, where he just absolutely decleated him. Left Skrine going one way, trying to trip him, and Boyce went the other. That positional versatility, that ability to make those quick cuts. There's a reason he was one of the best three-cone performers at the Combine this past year. He has that shiftiness to him, in addition to that great straight-line speed. He is a guy I think we need to look for more down the stretch and in the postseason. It was initially my thought that he was going to take a redshirt year and really kind of work on his development, but because they've been a little bit thin at that position now, I think more is going to be put on his plate going forward. It's going to be interesting to see how much he steps up and kind of takes command.
With a win on Sunday at Sun Life Stadium, Patriots wrap up their 5th straight AFC Eastern Division title. It's not going to be easy. Do you think that happens? Do you think they get the job done?
Yes, I do. Although, like you said, I don't think it's going to be easy at all. This team has never done easy over the course of the year.
And they haven't done easy in the last month.
I think we've seen 2 games that are blowouts this year. I think we saw the Tampa Bay game and we saw the Pittsburgh game. Everything else has been close, it's been tight, it's been tough, it's been well played. I think this game is going to be no exception. I think New England wins this thing, but it's not going to be easy. I'm going to say 2, 3, 4 points.
All right, Chris, we will see what happens. The Patriots not only trying to get that AFC East division locked up, they need to hold on to the number 2 seed. Right now they are a game ahead of the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 9-4, but the Bengals have the tiebreaker, of course. At a chilly Gillette Stadium, for Christopher Price, I'm Mike Petraglia, WEEI.com.